there is a blockbuster case before the Supreme Court this morning, and it could have a huge impact on college borrowers and taxpayers. Justices will decide whether President Biden exceeded his legal authority by attempting to forgive billions of dollars in federal student loans. Fox's Doug Luzader joins us live now from Washington, D.C. with the latest. Good morning, Doug.
Ryan, good morning. And there is a lot at stake as these arguments begin this morning, about $400 billion, according to one estimate. So this is an important case, or a couple of cases before the court today. But central to this is the question of whether the president exceeded his authority here. There has been a small group of protesters overnight in front of the Supreme Court, anxiously waiting for today's arguments. And President Biden, too, may be on pins and needles.
My administration is making our case in the Supreme Court, and I'm confident the legal authority to carry out that plan is there.
But Biden used to argue just the opposite, that he didn't have the authority to forgive student loans on his own. But the pandemic, he says, changed that, and his plan to forgive up to $20,000 in student loans under certain income limits brings with it a cost to taxpayers of some $400 billion, according to the Congressional Budget Office. 2 borrowers in 6 states will tell the Supreme Court today that the president can't do that without buy-in from Congress.
So this is illegal. It cost $400 billion, and it was done just before the election to try to buy votes.
Runaway tuition and expanded borrowing have contributed to a growing crisis, but forgiveness raises difficult questions. What about borrowers who diligently paid their loans back, or those who decided not to go to college in an effort to avoid debt in the first place? Still, the states today will have to prove that they'll be harmed under the Biden plan.
The Supreme Court might be skeptical that the state plaintiffs here are allowed to bring suit, but I think they're going to overcome that and they're going to strike this down.
Well, maybe so. We'll see. I mean, this is a court that has certainly been skeptical of broad assertions of executive authority, and that's kind of central to this case, or these cases. But on the other hand, this question of standing is going to loom large. And Ryan, these 6 states are going to have to prove that they would in fact suffer harm if this program, this loan forgiveness program, in fact, moves forward.
Doug, what's the timeline? Is there an anticipated timeline on something like this, when a decision could be reached on this?
Yeah, we expect, just the way the court works, that this decision will be announced sometime in late June. That would kind of be the deadline, more or less, for the court. It may come before that. In the meantime, what we'll have will be today's arguments, and they're going to be pretty lengthy for a Supreme Court case, a couple of hours. And that will give us a lot of time to kind of parse through the questions to see which way the justices seem to be leaning on this.
Doug, how big of an issue was this for college-age kids? I mean, we saw a video of hordes of students at college campuses all over the country lining up to vote in the midterms. Abortion was absolutely a key issue, but this was a big deal to them as well.
Certainly the White House was counting on it being a big deal, and so this was announced kind of, with a nod and a wink in conjunction with those midterm elections. And certainly it motivates a lot of young voters. But, there are a lot of other folks here. Not everyone goes to college. Most people don't. So you have the prospect here for people who didn't enjoy the privilege of college having to ultimately pay the bill for those who did. And that may be a tough sell politically as well. I mean, this is $400 billion that's going to be added to the debt. So it really becomes the responsibility of all taxpayers then to fund the debts accrued by, a relative few.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. It is free for some, but somebody's got to pay for that. There is no free, right? Somebody is paying.
That's right. And look, for people that have paid their debts back, this is a tough pill to swallow if this moves forward. On the other hand, student loan debt is a crisis in this country.
Without question. Thanks so much. Doug Luzader live for us in Washington today.